travel right to the next stay around here. One of them is like
someone's audio is on, so if you could turn it off, then won't disturb the share.
Somebody on the our community, his daughter married the street. The police did not let them come to the apartment because there was a lot of robbery.
Okay.
It's he said one going to his apartment, so the police told him that because a lot of people left the apartment, there was a lot of robbery. They want to go into with them to make sure that see what they steal. A couple of days later, the coroner said we find the robbers. And we asked the robber, how come your apartment did not steal? It says every door have a combination and all these things on the wall. Somehow technology is not very good. If you went on the door something, we couldn't figure out how to break this code. Especially probably Israeli something.
The Mezuzah in there?
No, you can't really share on it.
Ah, wow. Okay. I just heard a story. Okay, what I'm going to be doing is,
You don't know.
we don't have the source sheet hasn't been brought, not yet, in a few minutes.
Thinking,
So what I'll do is I will put it on the screen, and hopefully you'll be able to see it. Hopefully be able to see it. Okay, let me know if it. You're able to see.
Yeah. Maybe else is there one that over 30 people, 40 people.
Okay, let me know if you can see it.
It's coming in. It's coming in clear.
Okay, let's start. Give me a heads up if you can hear me. Can you hear on Zoom?
I don't see my phone, not so much. The people on Zoom.
You're able to see it?
Yeah.
You're able to see it, and the audio works. Okay, so this story I just heard, there was a shliach that was away for a while from his hometown on shlichus in China. He got back, and he was told he can't go into his house because there was some sort of robbery, either in the house or close by. So we'll have to figure it out. After a while, they were able to find either they found the robbers. What is it? They found the robbers, and the robbers said that they came to one of the houses, and they saw they weren't able to use their combination locks. See, what happened was is that through some sort of technology, the robbers were able to hack. They were able to hack in to the locks on many homes, and but then they got to one house and they saw that there was some sort of combination that they weren't able to hack into, and therefore they were scared. Maybe it's something to do with some Israeli government or something, so they didn't want to deal with it. So therefore they let that house be and didn't get into that house. Now what happened that was a mezuzah. So this shliach was actually spared this whole ordeal because of the mezuzah on his doorpost. So this is interesting because besides the story, I mean, it's a nice story, but it was said because we're going to be speaking about a mezuzah and what the mitzvah of mezuzah brings about. Now, in general, it's important to realize that Lubavitch or Chabad and Hasidus talks about and tries to instill in us the importance to do mitzvahs for its own sake. Now, usually when people say mitzvah for its own sake, people think the reason why they're doing the mitzvah is for some holy reward, something good about something good in the something good they're going to get in the world to come, or things like that, or something good in their life that mitzvah will bring about. What is there something wrong with that? We'll go through this shir. We'll see the issues with that. But in general, what Hasidus tries to teach us is that the reason for a mitzvah is really the mitzvah itself, which is to be connected to Hashem. The reason Hashem wants to connect to us, and the way to connect to us is by doing what he wants us to do, which is doing mitzvahs. So by us doing the mitzvah, the truest way is to do it for that purpose, to be close to Hashem. Anything other than that is not the best case scenario. That's what we're taught in Hasidus. But in this sikha we see some more nuance to that, which is very interesting because in general we don't see. We usually see, let's say if someone does something good for someone else, and then they're like, okay, let me pay you for it, and then many times you'll hear someone say, no, don't give me don't pay me. I just did it for the mitzvah. I did it I did it for good. What are you paying? Why? Nothing to do with paying. Why should I get paid for it? I'm doing it for it itself, for the goodness of it itself. Also, I mean, you see, there's jokes going around. Let's say, if someone, Rahman al-Islan, someone is not feeling well, and then someone goes over to that person and says, "Oh, Baruch Hashem, you're not feeling well because now I have the schus of doing the mitzvah of Bikr Chaylim." Now, it's a joke. At least Baruch Hashem, it's a joke because people realize the foolishness of it. But the truth is, I mean, if you would think that, hey, this person makes sense. Isn't the reason why we do mitzvahs to be connected to Hashem? Isn't that the point? And even Bein Adam Lachaveroi, mitzvahs that have to do between one person and the other. Also, those mitzvahs are also, they need to be they are really a way to be connected to Hashem because we're doing what Hashem wants. So if that's the case, so then that person is actually being truthful. He's saying that, yes, I'm doing it for no ulterior motive. I am not doing it to be to even be Rosh V'Cholim. That's not the reason. That's not the reason why. That's not the reason why I am. That's not the reason why he's doing it. He's doing it because he wants to be connected to Hashem. He wants to do the mitzvah. Isn't that doing a mitzvah l'shma? So obviously the reason why that's a joke is because this person, the mitzvah itself of being mevaker cholim, that mitzvah itself has within it the criteria of connecting to this person, going to this person, and making him feel better by you being close to him. So, if the only reason why you're doing it is because you're getting close to Hashem, then how is that doing the mitzvah? Because the mitzvah itself is to be connected to this person. So if you're not deliberately trying to connect to this person by being close to the person and taking time and explaining everything, being close to this person, obviously this is that's obviously not that's not the purpose. So obviously from this we see that there's some sort of nuance. On one hand, we need to always think that we're doing the mitzvah because we're being close to Hashem. On the other hand, there are certain mitzvahs that the purpose or the purpose of the mitzvah is also part of the mitzvah itself. We see this also by loving another yid. So imagine you go over to another person and you're having Avos Yisrael because to be close to, because Hashem says so, and you're not really having Avos. You're not loving the other person. You're just thinking, okay, I'm doing it because I want to be a mitzvah yid. I want to be a frum yid. Well, the reason why you're having Avos Yisrael because I love this. I love this yid. That the mitzvah itself is to love this other person. The criteria of the mitzvah is to have this feeling. So it can't be that you don't have that feeling. It has to be part of it. So now let's get into the mitzvah of Mezuzah, and we'll see how this has to do with this mitzvah also. So we see in this week's parsha, there's a pasuk of Chasaptam al Mezuzah is Peisecha u'Bisharecha. In the source sheet on number 1. Or so we don't have the printouts yet, but if you could see it here, actually, if anyone wants it on the paper, someone wants to read it. But either way, most of it I'll be saying it outside anyways. Okay, so the pasuk says, "And you shall inscribe them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates." And right after it says, "Laman yirbu yimechem." And what is this? In order that your days may increase, v'mei v'nechem, and the days of your children, ala adoma, on the land, asher nishba Hashem, which Hashem swore, asher nishba Hashem la'avisechem, to your parents, to your forefathers, lasis lahem, to give to them, kimei hashemayim ala oretz, as the days of heaven above the earth. So the truth is, this in order, laman yirbu yimechem, this we see by other mitzvahs also. We see it by the mitzvah, let's say, of kibbud av v'eim. We also see, right? We say this every morning. We say many things that through doing the mitzvah we have a reward. A reward of the mitzvah is that we have longer days, a long life. But then there's something unique about the mitzvah of Mezuzah, different than other mitzvahs. So we see in Shulchan Aruch and in the Torah that mitzvah say lichtei parshat Shema. Let's go from further down. It says over there that let's say the Torah. Where do we see it? Huh? Oh, okay. I've heard of them.
But he didn't tell me in the 4th grade, he told me to get a grade of the artists or things that's one of the right. How does it be? There's a behind it together. What's the chapter with it? It says if you do things know people parents need it when you have to give you back this because you're over box the same amount of years as you get.
Sure.
You talk about this, you don't like the other.
No, that's interesting. That connects the two. Interesting thing that you're bringing up. Thank you very much. Oh, but by the way, not by the way, but tonight is Chaf of the 20th of the Yom Elula of the Rebbe's father, Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Leivik. He was Meiser Nefesh for mitzvahs, for all mitzvahs, not just to himself, but he also brought so many Yidden closer to their own doing their own mitzvahs in a place where it was very hard to stay that way. So as we should take upon ourselves to be even a ma'at mez'er of someone so special, and we see the power of a Yiddish neshama, and the power of a Yid to go against even the strongest of nations at the time, because Hashem is really more strong than that, and obviously that means a Yid also, because we have a part of Hashem within ourselves. This is L'chaim. Okay, so the tour quotes from Gemara in Avodah Zarah and Menachos that if a person puts a mezuzah on the doorpost of his house, then Hashem will protect it. And a mashal he shows a difference, a differentiation between Hashem and lahavdil kings, because we see by a king of flesh and blood, he sits inside and the guards stand outside, guard him. But lahavdil by Hashem, we sit inside our homes, and he stands outside and guards. Shul also. I think, if I remember correctly, in Bnei Ruven, I grew up in Chicago in Bnei Ruven, Rabbi Schusterman's shul. I mean, I was in Samachal. Now it's Rabbi Hertz. But the big shul. If I was a little kid, so I don't know if I remember. Well, but at least my memory is that there was no mezuzah in the big shul, in the big sanctuary. There's a few sanctuaries. There's a small shul that's open during the week, and there's also shiurim there, so those were mezuzahs. But the big shul didn't. But then maybe they started being chassidus before davening Shabbos this morning, or maybe the high school started using it, the girls' high school. Maybe somehow there are mezuzahs now. But I was somehow, if I remember correctly, as a child, there was no mezuzah. This is a long time ago, and it's not like I knew.
The gate outside is yet, but
right. Yeah. Whatever. That's usually how such things. When you start a shul, besides obviously a shul is best if it has a rov. But besides, when you start a shul, you need to ask a rov for different halachas. So one of the halachas is like if it needs a mezuzah. So there's certain things that you need to put in place for it to be one way or the other. Like if you have in mind that it's a shul, not just a Beis HaKnesses, but also Beis HaMedrash, so then obviously they'll need a mezuzah. But that's at the beginning. There's many things. There's also with the shtender, not the shtender, with the bima. Really, you shouldn't be able to use it of anything else than a Sefer Torah. You can't put a siddur or anything. But if you have in mind that it's for many things, then obviously it's not just for Sefer Torah. There's many things at the beginning. Okay, but digress. Okay, So the Torah says that, okay, on Mezuzah, on the doorpost of his house, Hashem will protect it, and the king, like Hashem, is standing outside guarding. Okay, so this is already showing a difference between the mitzvah of Mezuzah and other mitzvahs. Yes, other mitzvahs also have this reward of having long life. There's many mitzvahs like that, but that seems to be separate from the mitzvah itself, not something that's inherent in the mitzvah itself, like that the mitzvah does it. It's more of a reward, a separate thing. That's also getting back to the whole thing where Chassidus wants us to do the mitzvah for its own sake, for its purest purpose. A reward is something separate. It's like a brownie point. It's a separate thing, a thing that comes out of the mitzvah. It's a separate thing. And we see that the Rambam in Pirush Mishnayos, also in the Rambam itself, it says that we actually have to teach people in a certain way. It's a must that we start teaching a child at first with the reward, that if he does the right thing, he'll get a reward. And then with time, he will be able to realize the inherent importance of the mitzvah, and then stop talking to him about the reward. But the first thing, what is a must? It's not just that it's nice, or it's if you can't do it this way, you should do it another way. No, this is the way it's done. This is the way it's done. So then the reward inherently, you see that the reward is a separate thing, because it's not the best case scenario. The best case scenario is to not put the reward in. So getting back to the Leman Yirbu Yumechem, that seems to be more of a reward. Even in Pasuk Pshat, when the Torah says that, oh, by the way, if you do this mitzvah, this will happen. You'll get this brownie point. This is more like to push a person to do the mitzvah in the first place. But it's not that it's inherent part of the mitzvah itself. So that's with regards to many different mitzvahs. But by Mezuzah, we see something different. By the Torah, he's saying that when you put the Mezuzah like this, it will be a protection. And then he gives the mashal, which seems very it's like an automatic thing. It's an inherent part of the mitzvah itself. And not just that, we also see that the Bach then says that he takes the number 4. Mitzvah zut iko hano v'revach miguf mitzvah atzmot. Shabbai is nishma al yodo. The noisav loy al schar shvitn like a shporfo al kima mitzvah. Kosheloisim schar al kol shar kiyom mitzvah l'kum tzara. The Bach takes the tour to a whole nother level. He explains, like we said before, that this hana, this reward that we're getting, that we have, that we're going to be more safe because of the mezuzah, that's something that comes from the mitzvah itself. And that is even besides the rest of the reward that you will be getting as a separate issue. That like we see that the harder we work for a mitzvah, we'll get a bigger reward based on how hard it is for us, etc. So that's a separate issue. That's more of a separate issue, not connected to the mitzvah inherently. So that's with regards to the Bach. But then the Tosfos also says, the Tosfos says that what's the lashon here? Dilishimur of it. The point of the mezuzah is in order to protect. Hashem wants to have to.
The mitzvah is to protect.
Hashem wants to protect us. How does he protect? How does he want to protect us? Through us putting on the mezuzah. That's a tangible way for him to connect to us and protect us. Okay, So then we see already that it's an inherent part of the mitzvah. In general, we see when we're doing a mitzvah, we have to have in mind something. Not that there's certain things that we really have to have in mind, and so much so that if we don't have in mind the mitzvah, then it's a shaila and a machlokes if we even did the mitzvah in the first place. And then there are other times that not the other times. So that's really by every single mitzvah. We have by tefillin. We have a whole list of things we need by tefillin. When we're putting on tefillin, we part of saying the bracha is not just saying the bracha and not just doing the mitzvah, but also to have in mind, well, why am I doing the mitzvah? Hashem told me to do this mitzvah in order for this and this and this, and therefore I'm doing the mitzvah. And that's part of the mitzvah is the thought process and the feeling that we're having while we're doing the mitzvah. By talis, we have the same many mitzvah, every mitzvah, and then there's obviously levels where you could get to Kabbalah, you get to Chassidus, where we're seeing the more lofty understanding and reasoning for mitzvahs. Well, that's that we understand. But now we see that there is the purpose of the mitzvah we have to have in mind. So with the mezuzah, the reason for the purpose of the mezuzah is for Hashem to protect us. So then automatically, obviously, we are the reason for hi Mendele. The reason for putting the mezuzah is to protect us. So therefore, obviously, the protection is part of the mitzvah itself. Part of the mitzvah itself.
If somebody put this and bring it not under my own, don't mean that thing. We have in mind, right, two things. But Hashem asked me to do it, and also I want my house to be protected.
Right.
Can I do it?
Interesting.
The part of
Right. I don't know if it's I didn't see it. I saw it the other way. We're going to get into really the issue. What if we only have in mind to protect us, but not that it's a protection because it's a mitzvah, which is out of a very nuanced situation. Right. It's a nuanced issue because on one hand
you want Hashem to protect us, on the other hand, you want to do it.
We have to have in mind the reason for it, but on the other hand, it needs to be because Hashem said so. Because how is it a protection in the first place? If Hashem wouldn't ask us to do it, if Hashem wouldn't want us to do the mitzvah, it wouldn't be a mitzvah, and it wouldn't have this effect.
Then Hashem give you a present in the house, but at the same time it says, and I'm going to help you to watch it. Not just give you something, I'm going to make sure that you will be able to watch it.
Right. This actually.
Rabbi, a guy has two big dogs watching his house. So I'm going to put in Mezuzah. Hashem wanted to put it. If he put the two dogs, I mean, he doesn't trust Hashem.
He doesn't trust Hashem.
Why are you putting two dogs to guard you? Put the Mezuzah. You have to believe in Hashem. Hashem will guard you with the Mezuzah. Why are you putting two dogs outside?
Hashem wants us to act in a natural way. So if in a natural way, a house needs more protection than without a mezuzah, then that's what Hashem wants. Hashem doesn't want us just to rely on miracles. Even though when you get into Shari B'Tochin, it seems like if you want, you could have in mind just the mezuzah itself, and you choose that, and you're putting complete faith just in the mezuzah itself, that's going to be your way of protection. Then it will be a protection. You're creating a vessel for Hashem's the same way, so to speak. So the same way. If you would be putting two dogs, that would be a vessel for Hashem's protection, added, full protection, because that's the natural way of the world, that you'll need a lock or whatever it is, or in certain cases maybe even a dog, maybe in two dogs. But if you want, you could have specific betoken just in the mezuzah itself, and then that's already
Affects apply. We have different. They don't watch, but we don't underground.
Leil Shimurim. There's actually a story with Reb Leivik and Leil Shimurim. It's really. I mean, I was reading up on all that he went through. It's really sad. We shouldn't have to go through. Shouldn't have to go through all that. Actually, my grandfather says that his father told him when he got back from Siberia for counter-revolutionary work. He said that he was grateful for the family won't have to sit after that. So Gurevich obviously is the father of our Rebbe, and so he's the father of these families, father of all of us. So he was, we're all Yitzhak. So okay, so let's get back to the issue with the mezuzah. Okay, so now we have two things with regards to mezuzah. We have the mitzvah itself that Hashem is telling us and wants us to put on a mezuzah, and then there is the protection that the mezuzah brings, and that it's part of the mezuzah itself. But we have to realize that what's the best possible scenario of what the reason for us doing all these different things. What's the reason for the mitzvah? Now we see something very peculiar on the Rambam, number 7. It says from retribution. Not here. Okay, I don't know. I can't find where it is. Okay. About okay. Number 12. We're getting to the Rambam. We see something interesting about the Rambam. When the Rambam talks of mezuzah, he says he kind of everything that I said till now, it seems to negate. What does he say? What does he say here? Outside a mezuzah, we write Shin Daled Yod outside the mezuzah. If you ever look at a mezuzah, especially if it's if the case is see-through, you'll see that it says the letter Shin Daled Yod outside. So this, the Rambam says, there's no difficulty, there's no problem. This since it's the addition is only outside the mezuzah, it's not within the psukim. It's not with the inside of the mezuzah. But there are certain people that write the names of angels or other sacred names or psukim or forms on the inside of mezuzah. Those people do not have chelek la'olam haba. Not only do these fools nullify the mitzvah, take away the mitzvah, but not just that, they make from a great mitzvah, which shows on the unity of the name of Hashem, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the love of Hashem, and of the service of Him. But then he takes it all for his own. And this is really all just for Hashem's benefit. These foolish people take all of that and only use it for their own pleasures. So okay, look what the Rambam is saying. The Rambam is saying that that it seems that doing something for your own good in regards to a mezuzah is ein chelik l'olam haba. The whole reason it seems from this, the whole reason for a mezuzah is to show the unity of Hashem and just do what Hashem wants, and that's the reason why there's a mezuzah. So now you're going to try to use it just like some other gimmick to have protection. Is that really what it is? So in such a thing, it seems from the Rambam, if you just look at it superficially, it seems like it's even negating the mitzvah itself. It's as if the person doesn't even have the mitzvah. And not just that, he doesn't even have a chilik l'olam haba. So what's going on? Is the Rambam negating all of the things that we just learned? That mezuzah is there for protection. So what? So you're not supposed, is it part of mezuzah? Are you not allowed to think about it? You're not allowed to have that in mind when you put up mezuzah. Yes, you're going to have in mind that you're doing it for a mitzvah. But can you not have? Is it not possible to have in mind that it's also going to bring protection? We already know that you could, we have minhagim. Let's say someone is going to give tzedakah. Someone's going to give tzedakah in order for merit, or let's say someone's going to learn Torah. Rambam talks of that. People could learn Torah in order to have protection. There's many things, and it doesn't, and he doesn't complain about it. He doesn't complain about it. He doesn't negate it, especially not on the level that he's takes away the mitzvah. He doesn't have the mitzvah, and not just that, but chilik l'olam haba. So what's going on? So there must be some nuance in regards to this specific halacha. So if we look closely, the Rambam is not really saying that mezuzah doesn't offer protection. What he's talking about is in regards to putting names of angels in or other things inside the mezuzah, and then taking the mezuzah and using it for ulterior motives, for not to be protected in order to do the right thing, but to be protected so that they could do whatever they want, even things that are not okay according to not according to Torah.
People really put names of angels in this. That's not okay.
Make it like a gummy.
In the mezuzah.
They don't know that.
The Ram, I guess the Ram. I mean, not I guess. Obviously, it seems like everyone learns the Rambam. If this is not, if this doesn't happen often. There was actually, I mentioned before, I grew up in Chicago, so there's a Chicago mitzvah campaign. Rabbi Aaron Wolf, he runs mitzvah campaigns. One of the things is mezuzah, and we would go on mitzvahim to buildings full of old Russians, and many mezuzahs said CMC Chicago mitzvah campaign. So it must have been that he got it close. But then there were times that I didn't see it. And there was many times me or other bakrim, when we would go to these buildings, they would say, yeah, the mezuzah, we bought it in Tzvas somewhere. And we would look, no, we're going to check it out. And we opened it up. There were people that had, Birchas Koyanim papers inside, random newspapers inside. They didn't have. There was no.
The people who had no clue what you buy.
Right, they didn't know. So yeah. Right. It was years ago. It wasn't. There were many such issues. Yeah.
I have somebody to do it up, everything out to take. And we came to the assistants, the boss of the goods, it's a good job. Have to pay the guys, so they do exactly what you told me. I took all the instructions inside, I put those jobs. The instruction, The instruction. You can get out and put it. I got it.
Right. Okay, so the Rambam is saying that no, you can't put letters. It's a pashut foolish. But what does this mean, foolish? Foolish means someone is getting so close to the truth, but then with some stupid thing that pops into his head, then he wears off like right, he's right there and bam. Foolish means that's what it's like a little krum, a little off the beaten path. So what does this mean? It means that the person has a mezuzah already. He has the mitzvah. He has the psukim that in it of itself is bringing the protection. The mitzvah is bringing the protection. But then when he starts putting other things into the mezuzah, when he puts not the shindalit yud outside it, but he puts letters, makes it into some sort of kameya as if it's something just that's going to give protection without realizing that it's really the mitzvah that's bringing protection. That's what's foolish. That's what's foolish. And then the thing is about nullifying the mezuzah, nullifying the mitzvah, where it says that you're being paid to the mitzvah, is that's a separate issue. It's not the having in mind that it's going to bring protection. That's nullifying the mitzvah. Nullifying the mitzvah is that you're putting other words into the mezuzah. That's what's nullifying. We already saw, the Rambam already spoke about in a previous halacha that this is something that that's something that nullifies the mezuzah. So that's so besides nullifying the mezuzah, it's also foolish. Meaning, which shows how how important it is not to have this issue, because not just that you're not doing the mitzvah, but you're even taking away from this from the specialty of it. Because so it's getting back to the point of having in mind that it is a mitzvah, and also realizing that it's going to bring about protection. That's the what we really need. We need both we need both of it. Obviously, we need to have in mind that it is a mitzvah, because we see from this Rambam that it can't just be protection. It can't just be just like, okay, I need a protection, so I have a lock and I have a mezuzah. We have to have in mind that it has to be done for a mitzvah, and it has to be realized, and you have to realize that it's mezuzah. Yes, meaning that if a person can't realize, or at the time the person doesn't realize the specialty and how important it is to do a mitzvah. So therefore, okay, so you start from level one, where it's only where just like with other mitzvahs, where you're starting just with the protection, realizing, okay, it's going to be protection. But obviously, what are we looking for is to get to the level where it is that it's for the mitzvah, besides the protection. So now let's get to halachas of mezuzah, where we see that this is actually it actually comes into the way we act, the way we bring about the mezuzah. Now we know that we need to, because the way halacha explained, the way it's written is that the reason the way halacha says it is that being that a mezuzah is there to protect the inhabitants, therefore we need to put the mezuzah in the closest door to the outside of the house. So that shows that the actual details of the mitzvah itself and how you do the mitzvah is connected to the reason, which shows that the protection is not just outside reward, like to try to get you to do the mitzvah, but it's inherent part of the mitzvah itself. And if that's the case, if we're actually doing it this way and putting into consideration that it is for protection, then obviously the mindset could also be that, and therefore the whole issue with the Ram doesn't
Why are we
apply.
putting for every room mezuzah if the one by the door outside protected the house? We need every room, right? The one is not enough.
But every room is like a house. Every room is
When you
its own.
enter the house, the first door, that's enter the house. We're putting every room.
Not every room. If a room constitutes a room, halachically, if it's constituted as a room or a house, so then you can say this is something.
9 o'clock.
I mean, it's right. So very good. So now let's get into, how deep the Rebbe shows how this thing of protection gets so into the deep into the mitzvah that it brings protection even without doing it, is specifically how the mitzvah entails, how the mitzvah, what the mitzvah entails. So two things. We see a story where there was where is this? 16? 16. Or really 15, 15 and 16. We see that there was there's how do you take off the red? Do you know how to take off the red? If someone no, this is from Adobe. It's from Adobe?
Yeah. Undo markings. Or reopen it, close it and reopen. Don't save and reopen.
Okay, let me try again.
Those are just people listening. I don't really know.
Still installing update. Okay, whatever. Okay. It's fine. Whatever. I'll just continue. Okay, so we have a few minutes left. Okay, so on number 16, it says that so with our Tavan sent a priceless precious pearl to our holy teacher and said to him, send me a thing of equal value. So he sent him a mezuzah. You hear? Rabbeinu HaKadosh sent a mezuzah to a non-Jew. He said to him, I sent you a priceless thing, and you said something worth a fullest. He said to him, your possessions and mine together are not equal to it. Not only that, but you sent me something that I have to watch over. I sent you something that watches over you while you are sleeping. As it's written, I will make you rest when you are rambling. Meaning that the mezuzah will protect him even in his sleep. And not just that, in number 17, there was a shade, as soon he picked it up, and a shade ran away. I don't know if ran away, but left. I don't know if there's a shade to shade and run. I don't know. With the mezuzah, the non-Jew took the mezuzah, waved it. No, didn't wave it, but the shade ran away. Yeah. A non-Jew, imagine a non-Jew. He didn't even put it on the wall, and it was a non-Jew. He didn't do the mitzvah. He gave the mezuzah because he gave him a present. That person gave a present, so he wanted to give something on equal value, and then the person said, "Hey, this is not equal value." So he said, "What do you mean? This is even more. This is even more." But he did, so obviously it's okay. So that he should. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I could guess, but I didn't look into it.
So you're saying that after buying documents we saw, the shade ran away?
No, the shade ran away after he had the mezuzah. After this Artaban had the mezuzah. Which means that it worked, it kept him safe.
Oh.
It protected him. So then you see that the mezuzah itself, when it's written as it should be, not like with putting angels' names and other stuff, or putting some random papers on it, but written how it should be, then it itself is already bringing already bringing protection. And then we see some. Let's finish off with this. Right, which is amazing. Then let's get even more. Now we'll see that mezuzah is not even just protected by the mezuzah itself, but even the general talking of mezuzah or the halachas of mezuzah. We see now it's stuff of so let's talk about a story of the.
I don't know if they do them, but these have the same people do Mezuzah around the members.
Right, it's even in the Mishnah. Masechet Kalim, it said that there were sometimes a cane that would have the person would walk around with a cane with the insert for a mezuzah, and if the Mishnah doesn't complain about it, the Gemara doesn't mention any issues with that, so it must be that that it has some merit.
I think it's over that Chinese guy complains to maybe a Jew that they break into glass and crazy, he doesn't know what to do. So what they give it them. So happy. 2 weeks later they come back and say, take it back. So happy. They say every time somebody comes and says,
It's asking for
more money. See, I mean, it's a Jewish house.
Okay, so let's get to there's a story of the Frierdiker Rebbe actually writes in his memoirs. It's very important, I think, it's just interesting also to read. The previous Rebbe wrote his memories of and spoke about his memories when he was many things, including when he was in jail. And he says that the first interrogation, he was being very blunt to them. It was very new to them that someone could be in such a space and not really care what they're saying and feel like he's on top of everybody. So they said, do you know where you are? Like trying to say, hello, do you know what's going on over here? Do you know where you are? So he says, yeah, I know where I am. I'm in a place that is patur from the mitzvah mezuzah. Patur from mezuzah. And you know why? And it's like a stable, like it has the same halacha, like a stable and a bathroom, and etc. So the Rebbe takes the story, and you would say, wow, what a blunt statement, amazing statement, right? But the Rebbe takes it, says many questions on this. And with this, I think we'll conclude. This one I think was at first it was a lady. Maybe someone walked over. I don't think Nachmanson was there. Okay, for sure one of they were involved. Yeah. Okay, so the Rebbe asks, what's going on? Why is the Frierdiker Rebbe doing something, saying something in the negative? Meaning, this is a place that's not this. Not just that, but he himself, the Frierdiker Rebbe himself, mentions in his memoir, that what was his idea, that he's now in jail and he's gonna prove to everybody and he's gonna prove to himself that Hashem exists even in such a place, and no one else could tell me what to do. All I care about is what Hashem says. So that should be what he should say. Why can't he say, yes, I know where I am. I'm in a place that Hashem exists, and that there's Hashgacha Pratis even over here, that Hashem constantly creates even this place. Like, this is not it in the negative, this is in the positive, meaning this is what's actually going on, and this is actually what he's thinking of. This is what his purpose, what he's actually trying to do. And the entire time he's thinking to have in mind that all of these people don't even exist, that the only one that exists is really only Hashem, because only Hashem is the true existence. Is anything that this discredits or argues with Hashem's existence inherently doesn't exist, because it doesn't have any worth in and of itself. So it doesn't even exist. So So isn't that's something that why didn't he say that? And what's he bringing in the mezuzah? And not just that, like what is okay? So the answer is the Rebbe says that it's possible to say that he was trying to bring in the protection of a mezuzah
By mentioning the word mezuzah.
by mentioning the word mezuzah. But how did he say it? He said that this room, this bias, this space does not have is potter from mezuzah. Is potter from mezuzah. But when you say, huh? How come? How come? That's actually a good question.
The mezuzah itself was wood.
Why not?
No,
I guess it's a torture.
Already protection.
Maybe torture place. I don't know. Maybe it was just very dirty, or maybe there was a lot of kfira.
No, the
Maybe kfira,
want him to be protected.
meaning people, a lot of people that don't are heretics. I don't know. Good question.
They might have had a toilet there.
A Salem, maybe
No, a toilet.
a toilet in that room. Okay, could be.
Could
be there the toilet. Could be. So what was he saying? What he was saying, Uchsatim amazuzos v'secha u'v'yisharecha. The pasuk says, the Rebbe takes apart this pasuk. He says that what does the pasuk say? That every single house needs a mezuzah. So what does that mean? That whenever there is a house, or like we're getting back, whenever there is a room, then we have to look into if it constitutes if it has the criteria of a room that needs a mezuzah. So, for example, if it's a restroom, then it's potter from mezuzah. If not, if yes, not. So the pasuk itself, you're already within the criteria of mezuzah. One place, yes. One place, no. But you're already doing the mitzvah of mezuzah by one room by putting the mezuzah on, and one room by not putting the mezuzah on, because you're learning the halachas. You're doing the mitzvah. You're doing the mitzvah of mezuzah. So when Folik Rabbi mentioned that pasuk, he was in effect doing the mitzvah of mezuzah, because he was looking at the criteria of this room and realizing that this is not a place that needs mezuzah. So he was mentioning it because in order to have this protection, the protection of a mezuzah. So because of this, like we know that the mezuzah is a mitzvah for not just men, also for women. Like the Gemara says that isn't it also for women also, because women also need long life. So it must be that the mitzvah is for women also. So, and especially women, the Rebbe goes on to explain, especially women are the akaras abayis, are the ones that putting together the home and spending most time in the home and teaching the children in the ways of Hashem. So it's not just that the husbands and the fathers and the men should put them as a. So not just that, but the women also, and it's not just important for us and for every person specifically, but it's also because every single yid is part of one whole. Then we know how important it is for each person each yid to have mezuzahs in the correct way. So we need to work in this effect.
Women can do the Kavah Mezuzah.
Or women bought a house also.
Single woman bought a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was actually, it was mentioned, there was a either a terrorist attack or something in Ma'alot at that time, and they checked the mezuzahs of all the ones that were killed, and the Shin, Dalid, and Yud of the mezuzahs were either not there or weren't written correctly. So, yeah, Some